Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello students, you are welcome to the second part of week 2 lesson in JS2 basic technology. The topic of this second week is the chain drive. In the first part of the topic, you have been taught what the chain drive is, its definition, its diagram, as well as its working principle. In this part, you are going to learn the applications of the chain drive, advantages of the chain drives, and its disadvantages also. And finally, you are going to be given some questions as an assignment so as to evaluate your understanding of the topic. Now let's start. Applications of the chain drives. Applications of the chain drives. The chain drive is fundamentally used for transmitting power, but when this power reaches where it is sent to, it can then be used for carrying loads or making movements. This is telling us that the chain drive is basically used for two things: for carrying loads as well as for making movement. So any machine that uses the chain drive, it's either it uses it for carrying loads or for making movement. And how does this happen? Number one, for making movement, the examples of devices where chain drives are applied to make movement are bicycles, motorcycles, analog wall clocks, and wristwatches. In any of these machines or device, power is going to be transmitted from the driver wheel that is connected to the power of the machine, like motor or battery. And as a result of the movement of the driver sprocket, it will now be moving the driven sprocket, and that one is going to cause the movement in the load. So that is how that one works. Then the number two application of the chain drive. So we can see this one in manufacturing companies where heavy loads are carried from one place to another with the aid of conveyors, whose mechanism is basically using chain drives. In most of the manufacturing companies where heavy loads are carried from one place to another, so they employ what they call conveyors, and the mechanism of these conveyors is basically the chain drives. So that is why the chain drives is also employed in carrying loads as one of its applications. Now let's go to advantages of the chain drives. Number one advantage: it can transmit power more efficiently than the belt drive. Unlike the belt drive that can cut easily due to wear and tear in between the belt and the pulley, this cannot happen in the chain drive. And the chain drive, the chain drive, the chain in the chain drive is firmly tightened onto the sprocket because of the holes in the chain and the groove on the sprocket, and this doesn't happen in the belt drive. The belt does not contain any hole that can help it to hold its pulley as the chain holds the sprocket. Number two advantage: there is no slip between the chain and the sprocket. Yes, there is no slip between the chain and the sprocket. The chain can hardly slip away from the sprocket because of the firm holding between the chain and the sprocket, so which does not happen in the belt drive. Number 3 advantage, it does not deteriorate due to oil, grease, sunlight or age. Yes, that is the number 3 advantage of the chain drive. It doesn't deteriorate easily. It doesn't worsen easily like a belt. So it is more durable than the belt drive. Number 4, the roller chain, unlike belt, does not break easily because it takes time before the effect of wear and tear can set in. So that is the number 4 advantage, and that one I think is self-explanatory. Then number 5 advantage of the chain drive is that it requires little maintenance. It requires little maintenance. Let's go to the disadvantages of the chain drives. As we can see on the screen, the first one is that it can only transmit power through limited distances. The chain can transmit power through limited distances because the chain and the sprocket, because the chain is made of metal, so it is difficult to make it to transmit power through very long distances. So, and as a result, like how they use the belt drive, so the chain drive cannot be used in that way. So the belt drive can transmit power over long distances, but the chain drive cannot transmit power over long distances. So that is one of the disadvantages of the chain drives. Number 2, it is more difficult to adjust because of non-flexibility of the chain. The chain is difficult to adjust because of its non-flexibility. So that one is self-explanatory also. So the belt can be easily adjusted, but the chain, because it is made of metal, so we can experience some difficulties in adjusting it. Number 3, it typically requires frequent lubrication. Yes, because it is made of metal, both the chain and the sprocket, they are made of metal. So as a result of that, it requires lubrication separately. So, and that doesn't happen in the belt drive. Then number 4, which is the last one here. So the chain drive is always noisy and produces more vibration. So it's also due to the material that they use to make it, because both the chain and the sprocket are made of metal. So when they are rolling together, so there is bound to be noise and vibration. Now this diagram we can see for the second time. So it's put here for us so that we can still remember the first part of the lesson we have discussed with us. So, and this one is even clearer than the one in the first part. We can vividly see the driver sprocket, which is the small one here, and the driven sprocket, which is the larger one, and the chain in between both sprockets. So the distance between the driver sprocket and the driven sprocket is also put in the diagram. Now, look at these questions. This is the assignment on the second week topic. Number 1, you have to define chain drive. You define chain drive. Number 2, sketch a typical chain drive and label its parts. Number 3, distinguish between driving and driven sprocket. Number 4, distinguish between belt and chain drives. And that is where we are going to stop for today. May Allah make it better understood than how it has been said. Thanks so much.